What's up, y'all? Monique Melton here. I'm the founder of the Shine Bright School, which is a global community for folks who are committing to doing this work of anti racism from the inside out for our liberation. And y'all, we are talking about motherhood again, and it's gonna be good. So, when I was in my very early years of my marriage, my husband and I have been married for a very long time. I can remember folks asking us flat out, like, when are y'all going to have kids? Are y'all ready to have kids yet? Like, all these conversations about having children. And I don't think people realize, or maybe we're starting to realize it more, but that's a very personal conversation. That's a very personal and intimate thing to ask a person about, especially over a casual dinner. And I want us to understand something, and I want us to understand it very clearly. Just because something feels like it is right for you does not mean that it is necessarily right for anyone else, especially when it comes to motherhood. And here's the thing, and I just want to say this, and I wish that this wasn't even something that seemed controversial, but motherhood is not for everyone. And that's a good thing that it's not for everyone. Now, I do realize that there are people, and I want to acknowledge this, and I want to hold compassion for folks who want to become parents and aren't able to for a number of reasons. That doesn't mean that it's not for you or that it wasn't meant to be for you. It just means that sometimes life is just sucky. Okay. And it's just not fair. It's not fair that there are people, maybe even someone watching this, who wants to have children and can't. So if that's you, I am not at all saying that it just must not be meant to be, because we're not doing that dance. Okay. We're not singing that song. We're not doing that dance. What I am saying, and who this is more so for, is for the folks who feel like everyone should want to be a parent. Everyone should want to be a mother. And if you don't, then something must be wrong. And I want to say, that's ridiculous. But that's the thing. Everyone should not desire something just because you desire it or you think that they should desire it. Motherhood is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. It really isn't. And society places really unfair expectations and burdens on people to become mothers or to feel as though they should be mothers and to pursue motherhood. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is coming from someone who has two children who I love, two children who my husband and I both wanted. We actively pursued pregnancy. Like, we're like, okay, we want to be pregnant. And we were like doing the things that it takes to get pregnant. And then we got pregnant, thankfully. So we have two beautiful children that we want, we love. And I am saying this is not for everyone. And the fact that I need to say this speaks volumes about the way that society puts so much pressure on folks to become parents. And it is absolutely absurd. The other thing is that a lot of times you will see people who are child free, especially people who are child free by choice. You will a lot of times see folks talking about their decision from a place of opting out. And I think that speaks volumes too, because folks act as though when you are born with a uterus, that there is some type of setting inside of you that's set to mother, become a mother. It's like the default setting. And so if you decide that you don't want to have children, you gotta like opt out of that. And I think that is just so ridiculous because no one should have to explain themselves whether they want children or not. And if you are child free, that is your business that you should not have to go around explaining to people and explaining all the things that you're going to do because you're child free and how you're able to support your friends who have children. I think that's wonderful, but we shouldn't make people feel like they need to somehow still appeal to us their goodness. Because we know that the pursuit of motherhood is a pursuit of goodness, being deemed good, holy, pure. And we can understand that from the work of, Black feminists who gave us really good literature and gave us really good theoretical perspectives to build upon, such as Angela Davis and Bell Hooks. When we understand the different waves of feminism, and there was this attempt to rebrand white women as these good and noble and holy and pure beings, and motherhood was a major part of that. So when a person decides to be child free, that person is pressured often to appeal to society how good you are. You need to show us that you're good. If you're not going to be defined as a good person through this, then you've got to show us. And it's just ridiculous. Now, if you want to talk about being child free and that's your thing. I want you to do that. I want us to stop making people who are child free feel pressured to explain to us why or that they're a good person. That's something we need to fix. Another thing that I want to say, and when I say we, I mean folks who are parents, even though I actively don't go around asking and demanding and pressuring folks to become parents, I'm still a part of a collective of parents that tend to act this way. And so I got to gather myself and gather my people. Okay. And I also think it's important that we encourage folks to decide for themselves what having a family or being a part of a family means and looks like for them, and allow room for all the things, the grief, the joy, the confusion, the regret, and so on. Because a lot of people like to say that child-free folks are gonna one day down the road regret that they didn't have children and all these things. Like you can predict the future for them. That's ridiculous. But we don't want to have the conversation about the number of people who have children who regret that decision. Are we going to have that conversation? Because we don't even need to predict it down the road. You can talk to folks in real time and come to that understanding and sense of awareness that there are plenty of people who have children and regret that decision. Sure, you might decide to be child free and then 40 years later look and say, you know what? I regret that decision. Maybe that will happen, but is it a guarantee? There's no guarantee. Instead, telling people how they're going to regret things, why don't we tell people how we're going to show up and love you and support on you and be a part of the community that you deserve to be in? Like, instead of being like, oh, you're going to regret this, but I'm going to support you along the way and whatever this looks like down the road. Like, let's stop this punitive type pressure that's placed on folks. So what do you want people to do, to just like, oh, okay, well, I might regret this in 40 years. So let me make a decision that's going to impact me for the rest of my life, that I know that I don't want to make this decision, but because people think that I'm going to regret this decision, even though I know for myself that this is a decision for me, I'm gonna go ahead and do this thing and then regret it. And then so there's just guaranteed, like it's just okay. So let's allow folks to support folks in making decisions and to allow the room for all the feelings without the I told you so's and the punitive, manipulative tactics. Let's get rid of that. And the thing is, too, like not everyone who becomes parents wants to become parents or loves it. And I definitely want us to stop romanticizing parenthood, stop romanticizing and making it seem like it's just the best thing for everyone. And it's certainly not the worst thing for everyone. There's just room for us to acknowledge the totality of it, the entirety of it without just hyper focusing on any aspect. And I think that's something that we could mostly benefit from is acknowledging that the current constructs in place do not allow for us to experience parenthood in an affirming and healthy way. And instead, most folks are burnt out, overwhelmed, under resourced, and under supported, which makes an experience that's already in and of itself challenging that much more challenging, if not impossible. So, how can we support our friends who are trying to decide for themselves what they want to do, whether that is to have children or to not have children? How can we be supportive? I think one thing is that we don't ask them to become parents. We don't come from a place of when do you want to have kids or when are you going to have kids? We don't even need to ask that. And we can instead, if that conversation comes up, let them know I will support you in whatever decision that you make, and I'm going to be here for you. Don't make it about what you think they should do. Make it clear that your love and support is not conditioned on whether or not they decide to become a parent, but instead, you're here for them in whatever decision that they decide to make. It can be that simple. It can be that simple. So I want to encourage y'all to continue this conversation with us in the Shine Bright School. We have a class that we're unpacking this and deconstructing motherhood. Definitely make sure you join us. It is so, so simple to join and to get in this conversation, gather some resources and build upon this and engage in community. Because remember, y'all, we shine brighter together.